Hello folks, I'm John Myrie and welcome to the Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. On this week's show we have reports and tips for you from Ken Milender down at Hayward Bait and Bottle, and then we talk with a friend of mine over in northern Minnesota, pro angler and fishing guide Bro Brosdahl about fall fishing. Lots to cover on this week's show, all coming up right after these messages.
Even though there's still some summer left and all of fall, Hayward Power Sports is offering incredible end-of-season deals on in-stock Lund bows. All remaining Lunds have huge discounts, and you could save over $26,000 depending on the model you choose. Hayward Power Sports has an awesome selection of new Lund bows, rigged and ready. You'll find the 1650 Angler, the 1775 Impact, the 1875 Crossover, and many more. Don't wait. Come and see us today at Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Riding along in my automobile.
Bumping into things unexpectedly? Make your first choice for collision repair. Ernie's Auto Body, featuring the most advanced collision repair facility in northwest Wisconsin. With a state-of-the-art spray, bake-down, draft paint booth for that better-than-new finish, laser technology for precision frame alignment, loaner cars available, computerized estimates, written guarantees, and documented unmatched customer service, the clear choice is Ernie's Auto Body, south of Hayward on Highway 63 and Nursery Road, where quality is no accident.
Big fish stories come to life at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. The world's largest shrine to freshwater anglers boasts a 4.5-story tall walk-through muskie that's a half a city block long. It's like taking a peek into Granddad's old tackle box with thousands of mounted fish, antique outboard motors, and historical sport fishing artifacts. Stop in and take a chance on our 50-50 cash raffle. You could walk away with a pile of cash. See the big ones that didn't get away at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame, Highways 27 and B in Hayward. Open daily, including Sundays, through October 31st at 9:30 a.m. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering welcomes you to stop by for their great lunch menu. And while you're there, Lynn's also has a great selection of custom-cut meats and sausages, as well as many varieties of snack sticks, jerky, fresh cheese curds, and much more. Lynn's is open Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 5:30 and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering in Hayward.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period. Visit ampedoutdoors.com today to power your outdoor experience.
We're down in Hayward Bait and Bottle recording with Ken Milender this week. Talking about the fishing and what's going on out there. You getting a lot of people going through fishing since the holidays here?
It slowed down some. The fish seem to be scattered everywhere. Some of the weeds are dying in some of the lakes. We had a couple cooler nights. And over the weekend, I've seen a lot of the sunfish suspending, and the northerns and bass are going after them on the top of the weeds.
You bet. Well, water temperature's cooled off as we're recording this. I've seen actually below 70 degrees, just a hair, and right around 70 degrees. And that usually kind of signals a transition time to go into fall. And a lot of the bait fish move up in skinny water at some point here. And I'm getting reports both right now. I'm finding fish myself out in deeper water, but I'm finding some up real shallow.
Yeah, some of the clear water bodies, trolling has usually been pretty popular this time of year. And this year it seems like, there's walleyes from 4 feet all the way suspended over 60 feet of water. So I don't know if it's because of the early spring where the weed growth got more advanced and the weeds started dying. And then the green weeds, a lot of the bait fish move in on them. It's just a more complex summer than we usually have.
Oh, yeah, and I've been doing some trolling for walleyes, too, mostly on the flowages, and I'm just trolling pretty shallow. I've been running my baits up really high, and I'm catching fish.
Yeah, reports are anywhere from 9 to 12 feet is where I've seen the walleyes, and that's where a lot of the guys are catching them.
And I know the walleye fishing will just generally pick up, and at some point here, you'll start catching more fish up in the shallow weeds again.
Yeah. Muskies, I think they're all weed oriented right now. I haven't seen any on live scope out suspended out in the deeper water column. So I think all the food has already made that migration into the greener weeds.
Yeah, you throw a bait up in the shallows, and you'll see a lot of places you'll see minnows kind of explode getting out of the way. And when the fish move up shallow, one thing I can tell people is don't overlook going real shallow. I've caught fish out of a foot of water.
Yeah, inside weed lines can be good at this time of year, especially for a really big fish that get up there and roam.
Yeah, inside weed edges and inside turns in the inside edges. Look for different things that, not just a straight weed edge, but if you got points and turns on the outside, you also have them on the inside.
Well, on a lot of the lakes, the inside turns will carry sediment, which happens on the turnover on the past years, and coontail ends up growing there, and that's one of the last weeds to turn because it lives deeper, and coontail is a non-rooted plant, and it provides a lot of oxygen and a lot of vertical cover. I've seen it as deep as 20 feet growing right to the surface, so it gives a lot of the sunfish and panfish something to move up and down the water column depending upon the pH and the barometer.
Yeah, well, that's an important thing to look for, especially the greener weeds between now and the time we actually have turnover.
Yeah, if you get them really strong vertical sand drops, the fish will relate to them. Same thing as, going up and down the water column, just like the coontail offers.
How about the bass fishing? I know you've been doing some tournament fishing. There's been some tournaments going on, and, smallmouth, anything going there?
Smallmouth, they're moving quite a bit out on the flowage, I noticed. And then largemouth, if you want to go catch them, your best bet is to put on a spinner bait or a swim jig and go to the mouth of pad bays, or, try to find some soft bottom areas that, have isolated pads with stumps, and just throw a swim jig out there is your best bet to catch them now.
If you pick one up in those type areas, do you switch back to a slower presentation to try to extract more fish out of there, or you keep going with the moving faster bait?
You can slow down, but, so a lot of the weeds have died and settled to the bottom of the lake. So a lot of the fish are, suspended in that, 2 to 4 feet. And then, some of the pad bays will start going stronger. As soon as the water temp probably drops another 5 degrees, they'll move right into the pads.
You mentioned spinner baits, and spinner baits is a popular bait, and I don't know what your opinion is on it, but I see people fishing it as a steady retrieve all the time. And there's a time for a steady retrieve, I think, and there's a time to actually give some pauses in it, let it move vertically in the water column as well as horizontally.
Yeah, so the trigger fish, a lot of times, do like 3 cranks of the wheel and give your rod tip a bang. Sometimes you can just tap it with your hand and sometimes just jerk it. And what happens is you disrupt the blade motion, and so the fish think it's kind of wounded, so then they'll bite it, because a lot of times you'll see fish, especially smallies, they'll follow your bait, but if you do something different, it usually gets a reflex bite out of them.
In largemouth, I know the largemouth bin fishing has been pretty good too, but are you finding them mostly shallow, or are they starting to move out the edge? I know a guy the other day told me they were finding them on the deeper edge.
Well, my dad, he spent a few days with me this weekend with the wife and I, and we went fishing on a smaller lake yesterday, and we just hammered them, but they were between the coontail and kind of the junk weeds, but you had to have a flat of weeds to feed it. You just couldn't be on a steeper break with coontail, but they were in the gaps.
And northern pike, I know northern pike, this is a time of year when you're starting to get to where you can access the bigger fish that were out in deep water. They're going to start hanging on the weed edges and even in the green weeds.
Yeah, Dad caught one about 38 inches, and we lost a lot of tackle to him. So the northerns were biting pretty well, too.
And I know you guys down here at the shop, you pretty much got everything and anything geared up for fall. You got suckers in now and everything?
Yeah, we have small and medium on a regular basis, and large are coming soon.
And I think you got a good selection like walleye suckers, because the fish tend to start going after bigger baits because that's what they're naturally eating. Everything grew up over the summer.
Yeah, the walleye suckers we have presently are, good size.
And I know hunting seasons are coming up here real quick, and you got a big selection of stuff in the archery department. You got guns, everything else now.
Yeah, we expanded quite a few square feet in our hunting department.
Ken, I want to thank you greatly for taking the time with our listeners here and some good information from you. Well, folks, we need to take a break right now and hear from some of the fine sponsors that make this show possible every week. When we come back, we'll be talking to Minnesota pro angler and fishing guide Bro Brosdahl. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hunters and anglers, Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop in the Hayward area. Stop in and check out the huge selection of muskie, bass, walleye, and panfish tackle. They also carry archery supplies, bows, crossbows, muzzle loaders, ammo, scents, tree stands, and much more. Gear up for hunting and fishing at Hayward Bait and Bottle. And while you're there, check out the bottle shop for a full selection of beer, wine, and liquor, too. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop.
The Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau in Sawyer County, Wisconsin welcomes you to our Northwoods hometown. No matter the season, no matter the activity, you'll always be surrounded by our great outdoors. What more could you ask for in a vacation destination? Woods, waters, world-class events. Contact us for information on lodging, dining, attractions, events, trail conditions, and more. Order your free vacation guide and start planning your getaway today. Visit us at haywardlakes.com or call 1-800-724-2992.
The 2025 Polaris off-road vehicles are on their way, and at Hayward Power Sports, we need to create room by making crazy deals on the remaining 2024s. Now's the perfect time to take advantage during the Polaris Deal Days sales event. Claim rebates up to $3,000 or financing as low as 0.99% for 36 months on select models. Polaris RZR is built for everything from taming adventurous terrain to adrenaline-charged trail rides with your crew. Polaris Ranger is a perfect machine for tackling property maintenance and then take on a backcountry trail ride. Or get the best of both worlds with Polaris General, built with task-to-trail versatility, unlocking more adventures. With up to $3,000 off select Polaris side-by-sides, it's time to finally get the machine of your dreams. Plus, Hayward Power Sports even has rebates up to $1,500 off the machine that started it all. The legendary tough Polaris Sportsman ATV. Let us help you get the right Polaris to join you on your next adventure. Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
See dealer for complete program details. Always wear a helmet, never drink and ride.
Welcome back to another segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors, and this part of the show is brought to you by the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau. For more information on lodging and vacationing here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out their website at haywardlakes.com. Well, folks, when it comes to fall fishing, there's a lot of similarities between northern Minnesota and here in Wisconsin. Had a chance this last week to talk to a friend of mine over there who guides over there, Bro Brosdahl, and Bro talks about the fishing there and a lot of tips that work both here and there. Bro, good to have you on the show here again.
Hey, thanks, John. It's always a fun time talking to you.
You know, we're getting into that time of year when some of the best fishing out there, and the spring and the fall are always the best fishing, and there's lots of reasons for that. But, you know, the first sign of that happens when the water temperature takes that initial big drop, isn't it?
Absolutely. It was kind of an extended dog days up here, and there's fish everywhere. They're all over the place, and they're hard to get to bite. They're very finicky, very fussy. They'll swim up to your bait. You'll see a lot of fish, and you'll see 25 fish and catch one, and the rest disappear. And it's real fussy, and that's because of all the perch in the water. There's this year's little minnow-sized perch. There's last year's perch that are size of a sucker minnow. Then there's the 8, 9, 10-inch perch. There's year classes of perch. And this has happened in my 30 years of guiding. This has happened 4 times where huge perch hatches have shut it down. But take 3 cold mornings, take that water temperature from the mid-70s down to 70, and the fish, it was night and day difference in a bite. We were going out, and it wasn't a hard limit. It was an easy limit, and it was lots of throwbacks, and we were going from scratching out a limit.
They got a lot more out there to eat in what we call the dog days than the perch, the minnows, everything, the baby fish, the fry, the insect hatches. It's real short bite window, so they still have to eat because their metabolism is up because of the warmer water, but their activity period is really short. They get what they need to eat really quick, and if you're not right there on the spot when they do that, you're not going to catch them, and that's, I think, one of the biggest things with it. And when you start getting that cool down, that signals a major shift in a location in the bait fish, too.
Absolutely, and it's very different this year from the past, at least a half a dozen years. This year, it's a little different. The fish are plump. They're really fat for their size. They weigh heavy. In old tournament days when I used to fish Cass, Leech, Winnie, Bemidji, surrounding area, Pacagama, the fish, I know what they weighed. The 19-inchers, 19 and a halves, were a pound 15, pound 14. Then a good one would be 2-3, depending on what bay you're in. Now these fish are weighing like 3-7. We had some that weighed almost 4 pounds. It's just ridiculous. And it's not the Great Lakes. These are just lakes. And because, the insect biomass, like you say, all the Cisco's, they don't die anymore in the summer. I remember ever since I was a kid, we'd have summer kills. We have none anymore because the water's all clear from zebra mussels. And there's just so much food in the lake. If you go down below 40 feet, it is just a never-ending mark on your screen for miles of Cisco's. There's suckers. If you get into a clear spot where you can see the bottom, you'll see schools of white suckers, the same ones in the bait shop, just a little bit more grown up, sitting there. Going into harbors, I'll look on the side of the harbors. I see the little suckers that are, I'd like to snatch them out of the water to use them for bait, sitting on the sides of the harbor walls. And there's shiners. There's lake shiners. There's spot tail shiners are deeper. Those are big schools of fish. And like you said, there's a fry on the surface. Tonight when I got off the water, just in the weeds, in between every stock, there's just the screen that my helix was getting a workout because marking every single thing that was there. It was just living, like you say, a biomass as far as you can go. You get off plane, you get up on plane. When you set down, there's minnows again, and the fish have so much to eat. But that cold temperature triggered a bite, and it's so much fun to be here when it's like that. And they're hitting hard. And the walleyes are resting. They're fighting like they're smallmouth bass. They're just going nuts in the water. But it's been a really good time, and everybody's catching them. And there's the crappie population is doing pretty good. Not the really big ones, but 10, 11, 12s. We had some good year classes. The lakes are full of fish again.
You know, when we're talking about that, you know, there's a lot of food, but in the summertime, I think what happens is that a lot of these fish, and we know this, that they go out over open water, the main lake basins, a lot of fish suspend, a lot of that food is out there. Now, when you get that cool down and that water temperature gets down to around 70 degrees, a lot of that bait, like you were seeing, that move up into those weeds, and you know what? The predators, the walleyes, the bass, the muskies, the pike, they all move up in the weeds because that's where the food is, and people are able to, easier find them. I mean, you get a bait in front of them easier, so you catch more fish, I think.
Absolutely, and there was always, I had resort owners talking to me, where's all the perch? Man, the perch are way down. They're way down. I don't know what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, I'm out there, and I can't get away from them. And I like jumbo perch just as much as anybody else, but when you're trying for walleyes and you got premium minnows, then you got 11, 12, 13-inch perch eating up all your minnows, that's all fine and dandy, but when they decide to show up, they're like everywhere in all the lakes right now. It's just crazy. I had my line in the water a couple of times, 1 inch to 3 inches. I was netting fish, and I almost lost a rod to perch. That's how they're coming up to the surface next to the boat. And it's just a fun thing.
Well, you know, we're talking about fishing in the fall. And what are some of your favorite tactics over there? I know we couldn't troll on a lot of lakes over here, and we're seeing more and more people taking up trolling, including myself, and I'm catching walleyes pretty easily trolling. But, you know, I know over there that one of the big things is you get in the fall is lead core, right?
Oh, absolutely. Lead core is super deadly. You know, you could set it to any depth you want to, and there's charts for everything, so it's very controlled, and you control crankbaits exactly where the fish are and be at their level. But it's, you know, I've done really well, even on lakes. Bemidji is a trolling lake. I've done really well out there using lead core, but I really like snap weights. I'd like to have the line closer to me if I'm plying a little deeper waters, and I'll have trolling rods. And I don't do it all the time, but if there's a need, when you get a bite, that fish is right there. And you know, but right now it's been a little bit more of a, leeches are super popular and hard to get. If you got leeches here and you throw a bobber or you jig with a short shank tungsten jig, I'm using the Northland tungsten jigs, but I've got next year's stand-up tungsten jig with leeches, and I'm not using really big leeches because they'll snap them off your hook. I'm using mediums, and when you get a bite, you cannot set the hook. You will not catch that fish. You have to reel till the rod bends and then pull. and you get them every time. It's a real funny bite. They're so full of food and they're so fat, they just don't have to eat, and they're just kind of grabbing onto it, really like trying to steal it. And but still, it's fun. Anytime you can feel bites at the hook, I love that. I love jigging is my favorite.
Well, folks, we need to take yet another break and hear from even more of the fine sponsors that bring this show to you every week. When we come back, we'll have the second part of that talk we had with Bro Brosdahl. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hey folks, come on over to Hayward Ace Hardware and check out the area's largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories. We carry top brands like Browning and Sig Sauer, and we have a great selection of the newest and hard-to-find models. We've got a large selection of ammo with more coming in daily. If you need a scope, we carry great brands like Leupold, Hawk, and EOTech, and we'll even mount it and bore-sight it for you too. We even sell suppressors and silencers. And don't forget to check out our Guns of the Week. Huge discounts on a variety of pistols, rifles, and shotguns that change every week. So stop on in to Hayward Ace Hardware, your firearms superstore. Hayward Ace Hardware, Highway 63 North in Hayward, or give us a call at 715-634-8700.
Hayward Animal Hospital is a full-service medical and surgical hospital featuring on-site laboratory, digital and dental x-ray, in-house pharmacy, and online store. Dr. Ostrander has 40 years of experience dealing with illnesses, injuries, surgery, and dentistry. Hayward Animal Hospital offers urgent care appointments and emergency surgery daily. Please call early in the day for these appointments. They open at 8 a.m. Hayward Animal Hospital is located 1 mile east of Hayward on Highway B. Call 715-634-8971.
Hey folks, the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach on Highway K between the Big Lakes has groceries, ice, beer, liquor, and pop, and now has all new tackle and bait supplies. All current antiques and household items are now on sale and all must go to make room for the sport shop. That's at the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach between the Big Lakes.
If you'd like to have your time fishing be more enjoyable and productive, hiring a fishing guide can be a good investment. Whether it's learning more about fish patterns throughout the year, learning how to use your depth finder to find the best spots and fish, learn how to use that GPS to get the most out of it, or learn better boat control. A day on the water with a guide can really help you to be a better angler, as well as make a day on the lake very enjoyable. To book a guide trip this year or get more information, you can find us on the internet at www.wiscnorthlandoutdoors.com, and then just click on Area Guides.
Welcome back to the last segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. And folks, we're going to jump right back into the second part of that talk we had with Bro Brosdahl on the phone last week. I know when it's interesting you talk about leeches because we're past a season we can get leeches over here even right now.
You can't hardly get them here, but it's bait shops. They'll get some trappers will go out and they'll hit this lake or that lake, depending on a lot of leech lakes are shallow. Some are deeper. Water cools off. They come out of the mud. And it depends on how many trappers you got out doing it. That's another dilemma. We don't have as many trappers working as we used to. So you don't have the huge array of bait that you used to have. And let's just hope that the laws don't push those guys out, because I'm telling you, we're short on leech trappers, and some just got old. They passed on because they're trapping. They're 80 years old or even older, and we need someone to carry that torch. Leech trapping, minnow trapping. But anyway, if you have leeches, and if you have just a fathead, but not tiny ones, like a good sized fathead, not a big old, chunky one, you're going to catch fish. And you're going to get them like crazy. If you find shiners and rainbows, your rod's going to bend all day. I mean, that's the kind of bite we got now. If you can get premium bait, they're going to hit it. They're starting to bite on plastics again. And, I've had people show up and they got different plastics, and they'll have this company, that company. And I'm using eye candy. It's really soft, but I'm using the minnow because it's like a fluke. And I'm not ripping it. I'm not sweeping it. I'm doing a double, triple jiggle. And if you watch in the water, it looks like that tail's making it swim. And the fish just absolutely crush it. But right now, I will catch 3 fish to 1 to any jig on underspin. And that deep V underspin. It's been really good. Some of the hot colors have been walleye, parrot, moonlight, and odd colors like purple and black. That silver or gold blade, even if you jig it, you're going to catch more fish with that than a plain jig. And the Whistler jig, I've used them ever since I was a kid, and I've got them tied on again. The Whistler jig is a hot jig. I've got the UV Pink Tiger, and that's a closer or Fire Tiger. These are really good baits when you need detail. If you're using a jig and a minnow, that's fine. But I'm going to catch 3-1 with that little spinner. And I'm not trolling. I'm not reeling it like a crankbait. I'm pitching it out, hit the bottom, and I'm just doing a double hop, as I reel and then pause. What I found, if you cast and then double hop and reel at the same time, your bait skitters away. If you jig and pause, it's an EKG, up and down, and it's not triggering them. It's that skittering away because they're starting to eat crayfish along with perch right now and other minnows. And you want it to move forward as they're biting. And so underspins are fantastic, and there's one called a Smeltinator. If you get a gold or a what they call Winnipeg, which is purple and yellow, you're going to kill the fish. It's got the Gamakatsu hook, so you don't have to set the hook. You just reel, and you got the fish. But get the smaller hook, use fatheads or a leech, and you're going to, in my area, if you got the Smeltinator, and I've lost them all to pike. I'm using the deep V. You're going to catch so many fish, it's unbelievable. They're hitting that, and we got boats around us, no one else is catching them. But that gold one is really good.
Well, bro, interesting that you talk about the underspin jigs because, a friend of mine got me onto that a few years ago, and I fish mostly my slip bobbers now, and I'm walleye fishing on some of the reservoirs and stuff, and I'm slip bobber fishing. I'm fishing an underspin jig below a slip bobber, and one of my favorite retrieves is where you kind of pull it a little bit, but if you watch it on live sonar, it jigs up, and then it kind of flutters down and skitters, then it skitters forward, and then it comes down. Almost the same thing you're talking about doing, but we're doing it on a slip bobber.
I agree with that because that's a little trick I did in the tournament days, my old FLW days in Devil's Lake, is used small leeches, not big ones, small ones. They paid attention to micro stuff over there, and we would use underspins under a bobber. But here, a bobber would help when you're in the Cara, which is that skeletal grass. It's actually an algae form and doesn't have any roots, but your lure gets tangled in it. And there's also ribbon grass, and a bobber helps. I noticed they want a real sharp hop to trigger them, but that blade is not rolling like you're trolling a spinner. It's flickering.
Yep.
And it is creating strikes like you wouldn't believe. And I'm going to have to roll into the factory and see if I can get some more of those and I'm going to try some other colors. There's some hot crayfish colors, but that gold one and the purple and chartreuse or yellow has been really hot. And 1/8 ounce is good if you're shallow, but if you're even shallow, you get by with a quarter just to kind of hit the bottom harder and hop it. And we noticed a good sharp hop, but not far. Just sharp and short hops are getting bit with that spinner underspin. And, it's that time of year, and pretty soon we're going to start seeing them. You're not going to have to do anything special. They're just going to hit it. We're really, really close to an epic fall bite.
Bro, a lot of great stuff there. And anybody's looking for information on what you do over there,
yeah, just go to brosguideservice.com.
A lot of interesting things there, bro. I want to thank you for coming on here.
Yeah, thank you. And then look for my podcast, Bro Rocho. Is it going to be till towards October? More towards the middle of October. It's more winter stuff.
Well, folks, we're about out of time for this week's show. I'd like to remind everyone out there that if you miss a show, go to our website at wnoradio.com. And from there, you can link to our podcast site, and the show is also on Spotify and Google Podcasts every week. And also, if you're looking for information on vacationing and lodging here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau website at haywardlakes.com. Thanks for listening, folks. We're out of time, and we'll be back again next week with another interesting show for you.
Listen with me, I'm gonna take you there to our Wisconsin outdoors, our Wisconsin outdoors.
This program has been produced and hosted entirely by Wisconsin Northland Outdoor Communications. Any and all views expressed are not necessarily those of the station.